Hey YouTube, I'm gonna do a comparison video of the Faxon Firearms 7.5 inch 5.56 barrel versus the 300 Blackout 7.5 inch barrel as well from Faxon Firearms. Faxon Firearms has sent out this barrel for me to do this comparison video, so I want to thank them for that and also disclose that they have sent me that barrel. I have built several ARs and platforms with Faxon barrels. I think they're phenomenal. I highly recommend them regardless of this 300 Blackout that they sent me. I would have purchased this anyway and done this test comparison, but I do want to thank them for that. So they make a very precise barrel, machined very well, holds up very well, very good quality. So the purpose of this video is that I've been running 7.5 inch 5.56 for home defense, and I know that's controversial. There are people that don't think that the 7.5 inch in the 5.56 is reliable, that it should at least be a 10.5 inch or longer barrel. I do have those as well, but I have never run into a malfunction with any of my 7.5 inch builds in, a couple thousand rounds of 223 or 5.56. So I feel confident enough for that as home defense. Now, also the controversy with the 7.5 inch in 5.56 is the sound and the flash. There's a big fireball that usually comes from this. And I was thinking in terms of in the middle of the night home defense, obviously not ideal with the flash and with the sound. Obviously you could run suppressor. I didn't want to do the tax stamp, which I know is changing as of the first of the year, or run through all the paperwork and the registrations and all that stuff. So with that said, Yankee Hill machine flash hider has been very good to help mitigate that. So I'm interested in the 300 Blackout, obviously, based on less powder to burn, so less flash, and hopefully better sound as well, given the pressures of the barrels. Let's see, what else? Oh, yes, certainly, these 300 Blackouts designed to be more optimized on the shorter barrel with a suppressor. Would like to have a suppressor at some point. This is a blast forwarding device, which is just pretty much an open, can here, and it just pushes, the gases forward. This is their flash mitigation, kind of thing on the end. So I'm gonna, I can't remember right now. I'll go back and give you the specs on what brand this is. So we'll test that as well. But in general, it's just about seeing like what is going to be the sound difference, and flash difference in this. I'm not concerned about recoil differences or anything like that, and the ballistics. Both of these are effective short range or even longer range. But for those who are considering switching over to 300 Blackout, I wanted to do this video. Also, very easy to do. It requires just changing over the barrel and then moving over the charging handle bulk carry group, and if you have a new receiver that you built. And then the magazines, I'm going to use the 5.56 magazines and put the 300 Blackout in it and see how that performs. I did go ahead and build a whole new upper from my other 7.5 inch so that I could just swap them out easily. But for the purposes of this, I'll just compare these two so I don't have to swap them out at the range. All right, so you'll see a little bit of video soon where it's just comparing the two at the range, just for basic flash, sound, and recoil, if you'd like to see that. I'm going to be running supersonic ammo in this. I'll run some subs as well, just to see if this will cycle. I've heard controversy back and forth about if you run subsonic in a 7.5 inch barrel without a suppressor, there might not be enough back pressure for this to cycle reliably. So I'll run some of that just to see as well. All right, stay tuned. And here's a final conclusion on the 3 different blackout ammos that I tested today. So the 110 grain VMAX at 2200 feet per second, 147 grain at 1800 feet per second, and then the 220 grain at about 925 feet per second. So what I found is very interesting. So 110, they are performed fairly well. This is all Freedom Munitions ammo. And I'm just kind of using this in reference in comparison to like the 223 55 grain ammo I used on the other rifle in the video. This was a little bit smoother than the 223, so this 300 blackout 110 grain felt pretty good to me. The 223 feels fine as well, but this was a little bit smoother. 147 grain was very impressive as well. For me, it kind of sound wasn't much different, but it's smoothed out recoil a little bit. I could kind of feel a little bit of more meat in this one, if that makes sense, just a little bit more weight of the bullet, and I like that. And then this 220 grain was very nice for sound and recoil and flash. However, as suspected and theorized, it really needs a suppressor can for the back pressure. So I could not get this to feed reliably at all. Just, pretty much each round I had to eject out of the 7.5 inch barrel with no suppressor. Suppressed, this thing would be amazing and going to be my favorite, I'm sure, because already just out of the 7.5 inch barrel, it was the quietest and lowest flash, and the smoothest. So by far my favorite. But in terms of shooting unsuppressed, I'm going to go with the 147 as my main choice. I've also got 150 grain supersonic as well, so I might favor that. But the 110 grain VMAX was very nice. It felt closer to the 223 5.56 platform, but that worked very well as well. So there's the synopsis on it. Okay, and final conclusions regarding the Faxon 7.5 inch barrel. I mean, as expected, as predicted, this Faxon barrel is very, very nice. I highly recommend it. Again, I'm partial to Faxon. I have those barrels in several of my builds. I have a couple other builds that are not Faxon as well to compare to. So I do have experience with other barrels, which are perfectly fine as well. But I feel there's a certain level of precision and accuracy and quality in the Faxon that I just highly recommend. So in comparison overall to the 7.5 inch 223 5.56 versus the 7.5 inch 300 blackout, I do favor the 300 blackout in the 110 and 147 grain 300 blackout ammo. This is again unsuppressed. So comparing the two, I would say that I could hear, even with the ear protection on, that the 223, I only shot 223, so the 5.56 would have been even more intense, but the 223 definitely was louder. I could hear it through the ear protection, and certainly a lot more concussion from the shooting position and as a bystander as I was filming my son as well. So for home defense, even unsuppressed, I still would, yes, I would recommend going with the 300 blackout for sound purposes and flash. Now, the flash hider I had on the 5.56 is very effective, Yankee Hill machine. The device I have on here is just a blast forwarding device. It did have a little bit more flash than the 223, I think, because again, it's mostly a flat blast forwarding device. Not much flash suppression. I think if I were to put a Yankee Hill machine flash hider on here, I think it would have been better than the 223. Where this really would be impressive to me, obviously, and it's designed this way, is suppressed, and then this 220 grain subsonic, because even again, unsuppressed, I mean, I only got it to cycle once per firing, but it was noticeably quieter and no flash at all. So now the difference between unsuppressed 7.5 inch barrel and in the 223 and 7.5 inch unsuppressed with the 300 blackout, it's not much of a difference in sound. But in terms of felt recoil and the concussion from the shooter standpoint and near bystander, there was a significant difference there. So again, I do recommend that switch over or doing a build in 300 blackout. If all you have is 223 5.56, again, for years I've been running with the 7.5 inch barrel for some of the home defense ones. My 10.5 inch barrel with the carbon length gas system is really nice. This is, again, the pistol length gas system, but it's been very effective. I do have concerns about not having ear protection in a home defense scenario and the flash at in low light or darks conditions. So overall, I would recommend suppressed, and I would recommend 300 blackout over the 5.56 or 223, given the flash, given the sound, and in general, the 223 5.56 is more optimal in 10.5 inch or 12 or 16 inch barrel. At the 7.5, I think you're kind of like choking it out a little bit. There's so much powder that's just being burned off. But again, it's effective, and with the Faxon barrel, I never had any issues with cycling or anything. So I do think it's reliable enough for home defense. But overall, the 300 blackout, this is my first experience with it. It was impressive so far, and I can't wait to get a suppressor at some point, and I think that would be just the ultimate home defense setup if you're looking at the AR platform. So hopefully that helps. Shout out again to Faxon Firearms for sending that barrel. But yeah, overall, it's a really good day at the range and pretty educational, I would say. So let me know if you have any questions or comments. And again, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification button and hit that like button for the video. Thank you so much.